Chapter 16 The Snake of Lilith and the Fire Bird. So what would you do when so much of life can be misunderstood? Well, there was only one way from here, into the woods for good. I went off in search of the Golden Maiden's kingdom, which was called 9 times 3 plus 1, and so I began by following it towards the horizon where the boats had come from. And about the Golden Maiden, well, she knew my name. Surely this was a calling of a true legend where my purpose must aim. Now as I walked a far ways, I found there was an old smelly hut that I nearly mistook. Why, there in the distance, I saw Spearfinger's hut. I'd heard of this hut many years ago, since it sat upon one huge chicken's foot. Have you ever seen a disgusting chicken's foot with all those nasty scales? And all I'd ever been told was to never get near it. But as I took a moment to think, I reflected upon the story of Iron John. Doesn't it begin with a young man asking what he should not do? And so when I found the most dangerous place, well, I knew I had to go in. Now Spearfinger was a woman, but she was a shapeshifter. It was said she could morph her form into whatever she wanted to avoid any danger. And this hut was round, with a single door that spun in a circle, always facing the darkest side of the forest. And around the hut were 12 spears, with 11 human heads hanging dead from them. And of course, the 12th spear was conspicuously absent. Oh my goodness, this place was madness. Just as I was set to knock on the door, I heard leaves shuffling behind me. Then old Spearfinger spoke.
"Hello, young boy. Have you come to die today?"
I turned and it was her, in the most horrible form you could imagine. Oh my goodness, she was worse than any story could fathom. She cried out.
"It's an American boy! I haven't smelled an American boy in years, and now the American bones come on their own."
It was more than a little scary, to say the least, and so she asked me a question.
"What is your aim in life, young man?"
said Spearfinger. Now as I pondered, I looked up at the 11 severed heads. I figured that if I got this wrong, then I'd soon be the 12th dead head. I looked to the first man, and I figured his answer was something proud about the meaning of life. Maybe he was upon a spiritual path, and surely by boasting about that, it ended his life. So as you may now know, you don't go about and boast, not about the spiritual life. It's like if you tell strangers about religion, then you're likely toast. What do they say? Don't talk about religion or politics, otherwise Spearfinger might put a knife through your neck. Because if you're so stupid to talk about your spiritual life to enemies, then you deserve to die. See, Spearfinger was a garbage disposal of the universe. She eats up New Age people to get them out of the way. And so I looked upon the next few severed heads, and I wondered what they might have tried to say. Well, I couldn't brag or be spiritual, and so I thought of my aim. Well, I certainly had an aim, but what should I say?
"Look here now, American boy. Did you come here on your own, or did someone else send you?"
asked Spearfinger. And so maybe the answer to the first question was to be silent. Maybe my answer was still unknown. But if I told her I came on my own, then I'm sure she'd eat me, and I'd never live to go back home. But I couldn't lie, and I couldn't say that someone sent me either. I'm sure she'd eat me then too, so maybe I should say neither. She is a powerful woman, and she doesn't want lies or smart-ass answers. She wants truth or she'll kill ya. And all these 11 heads pierced on her spears, well, I assume their bodies had been devoured. So did I arrive here on my own, or did someone else send me? Well, this whole situation had become madness, and so maybe it was madness that would set me free. Okay, so I came here 82% of my own free will, and then 56% of it I was sent by somebody else. And so she started doing the math in her head.
"Why, well, that's 138%, is it not?"
asked Spearfinger. I paused for an extra minute because I was not yet dead. Well, Grandma, you know it's not polite to ask all these questions until you've fed a traveler. She paused and walked in her hut.
Fine, come on in,
said Spearfinger. Wow, it worked. And I was alive, so I remembered that even God and Satan have to follow the rules too. I guess that was the right answer because I made it through. But what rules do powerful witches follow? Because they don't control everything. And so I believed the answer was courtliness, to be so kind and strange that it ended up stumping her. So she gave me food, and what did it matter if I was poisoned with substance or sleeping pills? I'd already made it through her door, so there were a million ways that I might be killed.
Now about your answer. Well, it seems you're not involved in adversarial thinking. That's what the feminists are involved in. They think that women are good and men are bad. And as long as you have that idea, I'll kill all y'all. All the time. But you, what's on your mind?
Asked Spearfinger. I'm looking for a kingdom. It's called 9 times 3 plus 1. Do you know where it is?
I don't,
paused Spearfinger.
But my sister does.
Oh God, you've got a sister?
Yep, she's right down the road there. You'll see her, and one thing she likes to do is sharpen her teeth with a file. You can't mistake the sound it makes, she said.
And now I began to understand that if we're caught sleeping, or don't accept the feminine, or the ecstatic when it comes on its own terms and speaks your name, it doesn't mean it's gone forever, but it means that when you go back looking for it, you're going to find something other than the golden maiden on the boat. It's all raised a notch now, and this is the initiation that a young man takes. And to get to the kingdom of 9 times 3 plus 1, we've got to go through Spearfinger.
One more thing about my sister. She eats a lot of people. Oh, and whatever you do, make sure you don't blow her 3 horns, or she'll certainly kill ya,
said Spearfinger. 3 horns? Why would that be advice, she warns? 3 is an auspicious number, a number that is known to transform. So as I left Spearfinger's hut, I'm certain she was a witch, and as I looked back at the decapitated heads, I wondered how many of them called her a bitch. Never call a woman a bitch, even if she's a witch or truly a bitch. It'll only get you into trouble, and so I had to stop looking at those heads because it made my mind twitch. Now I knew I was getting close, because there was a graveyard that never seemed to end. I walked for miles upon miles, but there were only more and more graves and tombstones across every bend. Then there at the back, in the darkest part of the woods, I saw a witch's house, which was the furthest from good. Something made me want to turn back, but before I could turn, I saw that a wolf had been tracking my steps. Was it that shapeshifter called Spearfinger? Oh Lord, what would happen next? And so the presence of the wolf pushed me forward, and so I began to pick up speed. There was only one way to her sister's hut, and so I guessed that forward was the only way I could proceed. I even tried to turn left, but that's when I saw a giant snake, and its eyes were red when it opened its mouth. That's when I realized my body would be an appetizer of what it normally ate. Now I sprinted to this next hut and knocked on the door of this witch, and there above the hut, her name was engraved, and so it said, Lilith. She opened the door, and she was naked and more erotic than any woman I could have imagined. Next, the snake slipped around me and began to twist up around Lilith in ways my mind would have never fathomed. Her hair was fiery red, and I could not count the thousands upon thousands of graves where she had buried the dead. "Oh, a Christian boy, come in," she said. I was frozen, even though my feet still moved, for there was a wolf waiting behind me, though everything about moving forward in me disapproved. "What brought you in?" she asked. I paused and wouldn't let my mouth move. "Fine, I already know. You've sinned," said Lilith. "A sin? Why else would you be on the run?" I can read your mind, my dear, and we both know you're a dead man. So I'll give you a way out of this if you like, and if you fail, then you're going to spend tonight in my bed, said Lilith. Now she showed me her fangs, and that giant snake found its way into the bedroom. The huge snake stretched out across the bed where bloodstains soaked the sheets, as if it was yet another human's tomb. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and so you've got 3 chances. Get any of my questions right, and then any wish you like will be granted, she said.
3 questions?
First, what's the best way to kill a snake?
She asked. Okay, this had to be a trick. Her very best friend could have been a snake, and so I was perplexed. I scanned her room, and this was a witch's house of sorts. Many candles, many mysterious items, and there I saw a caged bird all by itself. The bird was so sad, as if it too had been trapped. Its eyes caught mine, but once Lilith saw me peeking at the bird, she covered it with a blanket to hide the bird's cage and nest. And so the disheartened bird sighed with a terribly depressing breath. Now, since she could read my mind, I was careful when I glanced at the 3 horns beside the cage. Now I focused on the bloody room so that the 3 horns is not where my mind would stay. The best way to kill a snake is not to kill it, I said.
Wrong. You trick it to eat its own tail. If you had to kill a snake, you don't want that karma, so you must remember that the path of the Ouroboros is the only way a human like you could prevail, she said. Now I wasn't that smart, but I would call myself clever, and so I realized that this situation had become quite dire. The second question, what's the best way to kill a wolf? Asked Lilith. Well, certainly I can't say I won't, because there was one outside the door. But what was this madness? Because her trickery couldn't be ignored. So think about it. How would you kill a wolf? I'd need a gun or a knife if I was by myself. Well, if I couldn't run, then I'd kill it with a gun, I told her. Wrong. You can't kill a wolf. A wolf will always kill you. Now, last question. And after this, you'll be spending tonight in bed with us 2, said Lilith. Oh me, oh my. Maybe I should have stayed home. That would have been good, but still I love a brave guy. At least you realized that if you stayed or went, eventually you were going to die. Lilith paused. So the third and final question, what's the best way to kill a man? Oh shit, I needed a plan. She tricked me, and I was a dead man. Now I stalled, and I wanted to run, but there was a wolf outside, and I didn't have a gun. How would I get free? And there I looked to whatever I could see. 3! Yes, 3 horns. Aha! The best way to kill a man is by trying to trick me. I screamed it out, then I ran toward the caged bird. I put my mouth on the first horn, and I blew it loudly, when the thought in my mind yelled, "White buffalo!" I heard a death-defying screech come out of Lilith's insides. Next, I blew the second horn even louder, and so my mind called out again, "White buffalo!" Now her scream grew even worse, and I heard the wolf biting at the door. The snake was off the bed and coming towards me, ready to devour me whole. And so I blew upon the third horn and yelled with my mind, "White buffalo, white buffalo, white buffalo! If you don't save me, I'm going to die." A moment later, that cage began to shake. Something smelled like smoke when I swear the ground began to quake. The snake hissed, and now Lilith was horrified. Whatever I had done had planted a terrible fear in her eyes. The cage burst open, and now the bird went up in flames. Was this a phoenix rising? "No! You let the firebird loose!" said Lilith as the fire continued to rage. The bird grew giant and broke the cage when I hopped on its back, and now it began to soar. It took the ceiling off from the hut, while Lilith reached up and tried to keep the bird captured. She managed to grab 3 feathers, which burned her hand. A moment later, the snake lashed out. Then it bit my ankle while it tried to hang on as we sped through the air over the land of the dead humans. I kicked the snake off, but not before I saw the red in its eyes. The snake fell back down to the earth, but my ankle was bleeding and I could feel a sort of venom coming up through my thigh.
"Easy on your grip, or I'll burn you alive,"
said the firebird as it looked into my eyes. As I hung on, I realized I clinched this fiery bird rather tight. My mistake. Does this feel all right?
"Yes, and I will fly you wherever you want, because you saved my life,"
said the firebird. Well, what were those 3 trumpets about?
"It's about learning to open up your throat chakra, learning to have faith in your voice and proclaim your purpose with confidence, taking a chance so wild and courageous, and so it's a lesson we learn that shows how even a witch can be haunted. The horns have something to do with eloquence. This is all the stuff they don't teach in school. In order to blow those 3 horns, you must summon the wild man within. Otherwise, you're a dead fool,"
said the firebird. And what is a firebird?
"What do you think I am?"
It asked. Are you a spirit bird?
"You think I'm that simple? Try again, and don't answer my identity with a noun,"
It said. Without a noun?
"Yes, think of something big enough without using a noun,"
It said. You are that which when a witch is near you, they'll no fear.
"Not bad. The ancients used images, while the common man diffuses me with nouns. What else could you call me?"
Said the firebird. That which takes someone up and out of the underworld.
"That's it. You've got it. Think about when you're in a real depression or feeling real low. What pulls you out of it? A firebird is the desire to fulfill the soul's ultimate aim. But when we call it a noun, we're like school kids. We're just trying to please the teacher to get the answer right."
So next time a teacher asks me a question and is looking for an answer, I'm just going to scream like you,
"And then they'll put you on Prozac or benzos,"
laughed the bird. So the firebird is that which makes young boys hyperactive. You're that which the schools hate. A firebird is that which comes when you open up your throat chakra and make your soul's true calling to the world where you never have to escape. Never in my life had I thought of ending up in the underworld with Lilith, but sometimes it takes a near meeting with death to discover what we're here to do. An adventure like this can shake the soul or terrify you, but when you're ready, you've got to give it a go. Some people never get on the firebird, and that's okay. But most of our lives, we are looking for a chance like this because it changes the course of our lives for the rest of our days. When you hitch a ride upon the firebird, you are following your truest path. A firebird is something that carries us out of Thanatos, which is the Greek word for death. There are 2 great powers in life. Eros is one, and Thanatos is the other. Eros is love, intensity, and the desire to unite. Thanatos is the desire to die, to quit, and give up.
"So where shall I take you?"
asked the firebird. I looked down to my ankle, which had a new wound. There was a hole with blood and greenish-yellow venom oozing out. I'm looking for a golden maiden. Do you know where the kingdom called 3 times 9 plus 1 would be? And on top of that, the snake bit me. I can feel the venom spreading up through my ankle and leg. I need to get to the kingdom quick, but if I don't attend to this wound, I may end up dead.
"I know the kingdom you speak of. It's across the ocean. Hold on, young man. I'm taking us into supersonic motion. There is a holy man there. His powers are worthy of legend, and so this magician lives out of sight near the 28th kingdom. Hang on, and I'll take you to see Merlin,"
said the firebird.